Time
All
to
right. Welcome, everybody, to Frequent Milers Ask Us Anything. But this is a special episode where we're going to be launching our 100K Vacay challenge.
yes. I think to start us off, we have a little bit of an agenda before we actually start letting y'all ask questions. Before we start off, Greg, can you quick explain the premise of 100K vacay
I will,
challenge?
but first, Nick has a responsibility to talk about liking the video and stuff
I
like that.
Oh,
realized
yes.
I almost
Whoops.
forgot to tell
That's
people. I
right.
was I was debating
I
whether or not to jump in between you, so
I
I
clearly
appreciate you
forgot as
passing the
well.
floor over. So wherever you're watching or listening, don't forget to like, give us a thumbs up, leave us some stars if you're listening in podcast format. All right, we always appreciate that. Leave us a comment or review. Let us know what you think. We're obviously going to be talking and taking questions live on YouTube as we record this, but if you're listening to it later on, don't be afraid to comment on the post or the podcast or the YouTube video, wherever it is you're watching. So now I'm going to kick it over to Greg to do exactly what Carrie said and tell us about the 100K vacay.
All right, great. So every year we do a team challenge where we compete to see who can make the most of points and miles. And each year we make up a different game. And this year's game is we each challenger has 100,000 transferable points and a budget of up to $1,000 cash that they can use to build the most incredible vacation possible. And a there's some rules involved in that we'll get into some of that. But this time there's something very different going on, which is that I am not a challenger, but I did do a 100K vacay trip. And the purpose of the trip that I just got back from was to set a benchmark of what the challengers are going to be trying to like beat all the components of what I did. And one of the reasons we pulled it out is because we have each we pull one of the reasons we pulled it out as its own separate thing is that each challenger has a certain type of transferable points. One person has American Express, one person has City, another person has Capital One, and then there's Chase. And the problem with Chase is that it has to do with how we design the rules of the challenge. And one of the rules is that you have to spend at least 3 nights in proper lodging. Um, and Chase is the only one of these four transferable currencies that transfer to Hyatt. Well, why does that matter? Well, if you think about what it means to spend 3 nights in a hotel, what it means with most point systems, like let's take Marriott for example. Um, Typically, a decent hotel will cost at least 30,000 Marriott points, and so if you transfer your Amex points, for example, to Marriott 1-to-1, and you book a 30,000 point hotel for the required 3 nights, then that would take up 90,000 of your points, and you'd only have 10,000 left over to actually get to the hotel and get back to where you started. Um, Hyatt, though, they have an award chart that starts at only 3,500 points off peak, and so there's some great value to be had for very few points. We felt like Chase has a big advantage. So we pulled it out as a separate thing. Like the person who uses Chase points will set the bar, and then the others will try to meet it.
Yes. Great. Um, and you just finished setting the bar, right?
I did. I got in this morning at around 1.
Yes, that's right. I know that well because I was there and I also got in this morning around 1. So I want to hear a little bit about what was that trip? What did you do? And how did it go?
Oh, come on, you know all about it.
Well, you gotta tell the royal we,
I
the
like how you
royal
said,
me.
where did you go and what did you do?
Yeah.
Instead of where did we go and what did we do?
Right. Tell everyone what we
So
did.
I started my trip. We were allowed to start our trips from anywhere we wanted. And it would have been really convenient for me to start from New York, but I wanted to make my trip as applicable to many people as possible. So I started at my home airport, Detroit, and paid for a positioning flight to New York City, and I counted for that in the budget. And again, I did that because like I figured that almost anywhere around the country, it's possible to get it's often possible to get cheap flights to New York City to position to go onward. So I feel like that made it more applicable to many people. So anyway, so I started in Detroit, flew to New York. I met up with Julian, who's the founder of Points Path, but also a good friend for many years. And it's become a tradition for us to meet up on these challenges. I first met up with him in New York on 40K to Far Away, and then again on the SAS Million Mile Madness Challenge. So this was the third time in a row. Also met up with Carrie there because, as a surprise to our audience and to the competition here, or the competitors in this challenge, Carrie decided to come with me on this trip when I asked her if she'd like to. And so we actually met up at the TWA Hotel at JFK. And I had never been there before. Carrie hadn't either. It's crazy fun actually to hang out there for a little while. There's like ridiculous stuff like an old hair salon from like 1962 that's all set up, and you can go in and you know, sit under the dryers and chat about points and miles like Julian and I did. You can play a giant game of Twister like Carrie did. You can do a photo booth. So we were playing around, actually having a lot of fun. And ironically, the TWA experience became like sort of a mini highlight of the trip in a way. Then we said goodbye to Julian and flew off in business class to Malta. So we flew Air Serbia business class. We let's see, yeah, we flew from JFK to Belgrade and then onward to Malta from there. Um, in Malta, we checked into the Hyatt Centric for 4 nights. So that the Hyatt Centric there was available for only 6,500 Hyatt points per night. So that didn't put a big dent in my budget. And then we went off to, so this was the same night, the Friday night, we went off to a particularly scenic cove beach area on the island to watch the sunset. And there, Chef Bjarne, who I had met originally on the 40K to Far Away challenge in Johannesburg, I had flown him in to to join us in Malta, and so he had prepared a picnic with all kinds of local specialties, and these weren't like fancy food. These were like finger food type of things, the type of stuff you'd get at a street vendor and so on, and a huge array
Hey,
of
Greg,
that kind of stuff.
did any of your finger foods have actual fingers in them?
Not to our knowledge.
We didn't. Yeah, if they did, they were really tiny fingers, and
Okay,
what
so
I
they were
mean by
minced fingers.
uh, so rabbit is a specialty, is a food that's eaten often in Malta, and so there could have been rabbit fingers that we didn't notice. I'm not sure.
Is that classed as lucky? Because like rabbit foot is, but like
Hmm.
rabbit toes or fingers, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
Lucky
think so.
rabbit paw. Yeah,
I think so.
sounds
Mhm.
sounds like that would be lucky. Um, and so that was I guess a really fun to see people's reactions when we surprise people, but it was also just a great experience. I mean, to on day one get to try like this huge assortment of local foods from the area that you're going to, what worked out great, and Bjorn is a lot of fun as well. So it was fun hanging out with him, and the sunset cooperated. It was beautiful weather,
Yeah.
beautiful sunset. So that was all fantastic. We were staying in the hotel is in a town called St. Julian's, which is not where I would choose to stay if I was going back to Malta. It's in the sort of party area of Malta, and so if you want to go out and party each evening, it would be a great location. It's just not how I want a vacation. So that was not ideal, but it wasn't bad. Like in the hotel, it didn't bother me. It's just that we had to get to the places we want to go, to Valletta, to Mdina, to the coastal things that we did. We always had to take a bus or a ride
Bolt.
share.
Yeah.
Bolt instead of Uber is the most common one there, and or a ferry. One time we took a ferry, but we had to walk to Slema to catch the ferry. Um, and okay, so then over the next few days, we did two historic walking tours. We visited the St. John's Co-Cathedral, and we learned why it's a co-cathedral, which I won't give that away right now. The Co-Cathedral had a uh, really well done art exhibit there that Carrie was particularly excited about. Do
Yeah.
you want to explain that briefly, Carrie?
Yeah, for years, my favorite artist has been Caravaggio, and when we went into the church, I saw they were labeling some of the paintings, and I just had a thought like, oh, what if one of these is a Caravaggio? That would be cool. And then like 2 minutes later, there's this huge sign that says Caravaggio this way, and they don't have just like tiny little labeled Caravaggio paintings. They have a room-sized Caravaggio painting. It's the largest one of his career. And then they had another one in the basement and they had this whole exhibit around it. And that's just like a bizarre thing to not know ahead of time and just stumble upon your favorite artist's largest work of their career. That was just super cool.
Yeah. So, my planning Malta was all because this was Carrie's favorite artist. And of course, I
Right.
somehow knew that in advance and somehow knew that
Gosh,
he would
you're so
exhibit
good
there.
at the surprises, Greg. It's the details that set you
Greg,
Is
apart.
that why
Greg,
you
can you name your
didn't?
favorite Caravaggio painting, Greg?
It's that really big one in the room.
Is that why
It
you
took up the
didn't
whole
book
room.
the tickets ahead of time and we almost skipped it?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That was all a fake out. Yeah. Anyway, that exhibit was so well done. I don't know anything about art really, but I really enjoyed that art exhibit more than just seeing the cathedral itself, much more. Did I mention we did? So we did that. We did explored catacombs. We we sampled like the best. Oh shoot.
Pastizi.
Pazizi
Pastizi.
in Malta, or at least that's what we were told, that this place was best, and it was
I
excellent. They're
believe it.
they're
Yeah.
like these like they're sort of like hot pockets, but much better, right? So you've
I'm gonna
got the
think
bread
that
on
I'm
the
gonna go on a limb and
outside.
say the Pastisi people would not appreciate that
I
comparison.
did say much better.
True, of course.
And different places have different kinds of fillings in them, but the two main fillings, one is a cheese filling, the other is like a smashed pea filling, which doesn't sound that great, but I actually thought that was my favorite of the two. I
Yeah,
thought that
think
was
like
delicious.
curried peas.
Oh,
That
nice.
makes it better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a better way to think about it.
You've got Steve's
Oh, so would
attention.
it have been like curried chickpeas, or were they like
No, it
curried
was
actual
like green
peas?
peas,
Or...
yeah.
Okay, well,
But it was really good that way.
That was pretty close to my only vegetables for the whole trip. Um,
Yeah.
so we did 2 days of that kind of sort of like historic type exploring. Going around Mdina was fascinating. That's a medieval walled city that's really well kept up, and it's just so cool. I don't know. Anytime I've gotten to see a walled city, that's in pretty good shape. I love that. And Valletta, which is the capital, I thought that was gorgeous. You look down at the water from different parts. They have a lot of it's not as nearly as old as Mdina, but they have a lot of like old architecture that makes it very pretty. And the history there was just so interesting. I don't want to give stuff away for anyone who's going because I think it'd be I think that was part of the experience was learning about it while we were there made it like really
Yeah.
super cool. I didn't know how much I was interested in history until I was
Right.
learning about this stuff and being like, wait, what happened with the knights? Is that true? You know, it was crazy. But one little thing is Caravaggio was fleeing from Italy. He like killed someone, right?
Yeah, he murdered
And
somebody.
the knights
Oh,
of Malta took him in, and as a thank you, he painted that gigantic painting
Yeah.
that Carrie mentioned.
Yeah. It might have been a required thank you.
It
You
might
say
have
so.
been.
So it was blackmail, really, is what you're talking about.
Yeah. He was a provocative character.
Yeah. Um, so okay, so we did those things. Then we had to do a water activity. The main touristy water activities is to do these tourist boat trips that go to different Malta. Malta has a few islands, and they usually stop at set places. There's one place called the Blue Lagoon. There's another something grotto, and I was really mixed about whether we should do that or not. I hated the idea of being like with mobs of tourists, and that's what everything I read said. You know, you can't avoid that. So I found another option that was a local like hidden gem spot, which was a cove with caves like right there. You walk right up and into these caves that are along this cove, and there's enough like rocks in a semicircle around the cove to shelter this cove from any waves or anything. So you have nice still water for swimming. Scuba divers, which we didn't do, but scuba divers go in right where like people who are swimming go in, but then they can swim through tunnels in the rocks that are right there, like 20 feet from where you get in the water. And as we were swimming around, put your face in the water, not only do you see fish, but you see scuba divers too that you didn't know were there, which was kind of a neat experience. Um, and we hiked a little bit from there up on the cliffs above this area, and that was spectacular. And all this, like, we didn't see any tourists. There were locals there, and it was just when we were hiking, there was nobody. It was just us, and it was so perfect. It was exactly how I want a vacation, that kind of thing, rather than the tourist mob. So that was really perfect. And then we uh, we met up with the next surprise. The final surprise of the trip was Maisie, the culinary concierge who accompanied me in the Three Cards, Three Continents trip. I had invited her to come, and it turned out she wasn't able to arrive on Friday like the rest of us did because she was in Los Angeles for a relative's bar mitzvah, and obviously she had to do that. Um, and so, I thought okay, we're gonna have to call it off because she wouldn't be able to get there till Monday, which was the day before Carrie and I would be leaving. But then I learned that she was pregnant, and I thought, what an awesome um, baby baby moon gift I could give her is use my points to give her this vacation. She was super excited about it because she and her partner were able to come, fly out Sunday night, arrive on Monday, and we then we used my suite at the hotel to do some sort of like interviews to talk to both Maisie and Bjarne about what it's like traveling with Greg, and what they thought when they got these invitations and everything like that. So that was fun. And we then went to the tallest tower. One nice thing about St. Julian's, where the hotel was, is the tallest tower in all of Malta is there, and it has this two-story rooftop bar. And if you go, especially, well, actually, either level has just stunning, stunning views. And the top level also has a walkout area that's glass bottomed. And some of us were happy to walk out there, some of us not so much.
Oh,
But I loved
really?
it. Um, that was free. They let us come up and look around, even though we weren't like buying drinks or anything, because we had a reservation to get to, which was at a restaurant in Valletta, um, which was it's a restaurant that does all Maltese dishes, um, and the 7 course tasting menu of all Maltese dishes, all locally sourced, and it's only 48 euros per person for the 7 course elaborate dinner. So that's very reasonable for that level of cuisine. It was fantastic. Um, I don't know about you, Carrie, but I made the mistake of eating too much of the yummy stuff early on. And so by the time I got to my favorite dish, I could barely eat any of it. And it was really disappointing because everything had been so good. But then I got to that one. It's like, oh, this is great. And not so much, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I was super impressed with how seamlessly they modified for the varying dietary restrictions at the table because we kind of had a lot. Maisie's pregnant, so she has to, eat certain things, not eat certain things. And her partner can't eat dairy, and I'm technically pescatarian. And
Yeah.
so I felt so guilty when he's like, any dietary restrictions? I'm like, sorry. But then it was really neat. They brought out all these, so not only are they doing this tasting menu that changes every day based on what ingredients they have, they're also like modifying it for us. I don't know. I thought they did a great job. Luckily, I was still hungry when they served the fish because I've never done a tasting menu before, so I didn't know it follows like a certain flow, and the fish comes at a certain time, which is earlier than the meat. So sorry
Yeah.
about that. So I was hungry. I was still hungry enough by the time the fish came.
What was your favorite?
The fish, the
It
tuna.
was
They did the
the
tuna
tuna.
steaks. It
Yeah.
was really, really
That was
good.
really good.
Yeah.
The octopus was fantastic too. Although I don't like eating octopus, like sort of when I think about it, especially after seeing that movie about them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was so yummy. Anyway, for those wondering, so the dish that I love so much was rabbit, and I was surprised at how incredibly good that. Now I've had rabbit before, but I've never had it as good as this one was. It was really terrific. Um, so that was it for really Malta. We we got back to our rooms very late, and we're up probably. Well, I was up till like 3 a.m. doing things like writing my journal entry, and then had to get up at I don't know 4:30 or something to go to the airport. I think Carrie was up even longer than that doing her work. Um, we flew back. We had a positioning flight. We flew economy to Amsterdam, then flew economy from Amsterdam to London, and then premium economy on Virgin Atlantic from London to JFK. I think that so premium economy is like somewhere between economy and business class. It's not like just economy with a little more leg room. And I think Carrie didn't really understand that
No.
until we got on the plane, right?
I was really impressed. I was expecting like exit row economy. Like I thought like premium economy is when they just stick you in like the nicest economy seat they have or whatever. I was really blown away. Not knowing that it was going to be that nice made it like almost more exciting to me than the business class flight.
Yeah, it was
It
funny
was
because
great.
we get on and Carrie's like, "This is like business class to me." Of course, she's tiny, so
Yeah.
she can almost lie flat on it. But they did a great job. I've done a
Yeah.
few other premium economies before, but this was way better than Delta's and both were way better than Lufthansa's premium economy. But Virgin Atlantic had great service, and the food was all served on like proper plates and glassware and things like that. And the food was very good. And yeah, I didn't see what they were serving in business class, but it all seemed like what I would expect in business class, not what I'd expect in economy. And So yeah, for a daytime flight, I thought that was really fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was definitely like the whole meal was very comparable to the Air Serbia business class meal that we'd had.
Yeah. So
So,
anyway, to sum things up, we were able to fly like the longest flights that
Mm.
from the U.S. to Europe and then back. The overseas portions were all in premium cabins. So again, lie flat business class on the way out, and then premium economy on the way back. Um, and the vacation involved um, a lot of interesting stuff that we did, a lot of interesting stuff we learned about, a lot of sunshine, a little bit of rain, and fun snorkeling and hiking at that cove. A little bit of meeting locals, not a lot of that.
Well, I think it's worth like repeating for anybody who kind of just stumbled into this that Greg's trip, all of that, right? Flights, the hotels, the stuff he did, like everything for Greg was just 100,000 points and less than $1,000, right? What did you come out like $970? Is that right?
968.
Yeah.
$968
Mhm.
and 100,000 points, which I mean, we've seen a few cards that have offered that 100,000 points with like a single card bonus, right? So that's
Oh,
not
sure.
an out of reach number of points and probably not an out of reach amount of cash compared to what most people spend on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, in
Yeah,
fact,
definitely.
it has a very high spend requirement, but the business Sapphire Reserve card has that 200,000 point offer, which if you wanted to cash in half of that for $1,000, then you would have the equivalent of my budget for this trip right there.
And that's, of course, at the time that we're recording this, that,
Yeah,
that
very
may
good point.
change.
At, at,
Yeah.
at the
Nicely
time
pointed
we're
out.
saying this, right?
Yeah. So, the requirement again was at least 3 nights in a bed, $1,000 budget and 100,000 point budget. Greg spent 97,000 points. So he came in under budget. Spent $968, so came in under budget there too. And sorry, there was a bug on top of my laptop. Click off. Sorry.
I thought you were just like moving to the next
Like-
page of your notes or
Just
something.
gonna
and
Hell,
shut up.
I'm like, is there a chime or a bell?
It does seem like one of those Instagram transition things. Yeah.
Nope, just taking care of a real life bug. Um, then he spent 4 nights, which was one additional than the required three. Um, but given all the things he talked about here, he gave himself a rating of, did you say B plus, I think, or was it
B
B? Yeah,
plus.
B plus.
Yeah.
So you rated yourself B plus. So real briefly, summarize why B plus. Although we kind of got a little idea from that summary.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to be scoring the challengers on we group on a whole lot of a huge number of factors, but we group them into 5 buckets. One is we called wow, and that's basically like things about the destination, about what you did on your vacation. Did that wow us? Applicability is another one, like how widely applicable is what you did to other people? Would others be able to do what you did or something close enough to it so that it makes sense for others? And that's why, like I talked about, like why I didn't start in New York on my trip, because I want it to be more applicable. The value for your points was another one, and extra bonuses is like kind of a combination of things. But the primary ones are like, did you do this frugally? Did you meet the requirements of staying 3 nights, or did you go above that and you get extra points for going above 3 nights? And then you have style, and that's more about the travel. Did you travel in style? And so I graded myself an A minus for destination. I thought Malta turned out to be a great pick, and So I gave myself an A for the location. But there were some other components that we look at in that category, like adventure. Did you include any activity that was exciting or push yourself out of your comfort zone? And we did stuff that I thought was really fun, but there wasn't really anything outside my comfort zone that I did. Um, Relaxation is another one where we did bake in time to relax, but we didn't do anything special to relax. There wasn't like extended, hanging out on the beach just for the purpose of relaxing or going to a spa or anything like that. Food, I gave myself an A+ for all the reasons we talked about. Um, yeah, anyway, so all these different things I graded myself, and there were a few things I gave myself A's and some things B's for the destination, but that brought me down to an A- because of the couple B's. Applicability, I give myself an A. That's something I worked really hard on to try to make this a trip that someone could use their points and book something like this. I don't think there was anything I did that would be hard to replicate as far as the outline of the trip. Now there were details that you might not be able to replicate, like for example, we got into certain airport lounges because of my Delta Elite status. So you might not be able to get into those specific lounges. But actually flying the flights we flew and staying in the hotel we stayed at, you could certainly replicate if you had the points. Um, I gave myself a B for value. So even though I came in within budget and everything, I was a little disappointed when I looked at the sum of all the cash. Like if I had paid cash for everything, what would it come to? And I thought it would be, I don't know, at least $7,000, but it was more like I can't remember exactly, but more
4,000,
4,000
upper four
something.
thousands. Yeah,
Yeah. So
almost
anyway, so
5,000.
it wasn't as high as I thought it would be. Same thing with frugality. Like I thought I would spend a lot less than $1,000, not $32 less than $1,000. So,
That
so I
might
didn't
be a
rate
lot.
myself highly on those things. Um, let's see. So just going to briefly look at my other ones, see if there's anything worth talking about before we go in. But the
Sure.
point is,
While
uh,
Greg looks at those, I want to mention you mentioned because you're talking when you're talking about applicability and the Air Serbia business class came to mind because a reader emailed earlier today that was looking for a specific trip for next summer and said they couldn't find any business class availability. And I used a word tool to do a search for the month they were looking at next summer, and I found 2 seats or more on Air Serbia in business class like almost daily out of Chicago, not quite daily, but a
yeah.
lot of days out of Chicago and New York. So if that's something that you saw in Greg's trip and appealed to you, there seems to be quite a bit of availability on the Air
Yeah,
Serbia rates.
that's a great point. So Air Serbia is not like it's not the swankiest business class you could do, but it was good. I mean, it was like on par with what a regular average business class is. You do have the lie flat seats. If you do some studying up about their seat configuration, you can sit in a nice seat with plenty of room. And I say that way because there are seats with very little room and they're very weirdly laid out. And I would not hesitate to fly them again if they're going to where I want to go. And it also points out um, why I chose, why I thought using Air Canada Aeroplane miles to book that flight was a good thing for applicability. Because even if you're not flying Air Serbia, I think that Air Canada Airplane has so many partners, including all of Star Alliance, but also lots of other partners, that I think they are probably the single best program to find award availability across the Atlantic. That's my assertion anyway. And Air Serbia is a good example because you couldn't book this with United Miles or any other like major miles because Air Serbia is not part of Star Alliance. They're an individual partner with Air Canada, and that's why I was able to book it with Aeroplan points. So that was good. Hmm. Um, I gave myself just a B plus for style. So this is like, did you travel in style? Did you stay in luxury? I thought everything we did was good, but nothing was like over the top luxury. We weren't flying Q suites. We weren't staying in a Park Hyatt. But it was all very nice and comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that leaves tons of room for you guys to showcase what your points can do. So now what I want to talk about, you've heard the highlights, lowlights. Please check out Greg's recent post, his journal. If you go to the website at the top, you can see a follow along button. Click that, and you can see Greg's summary trip there and read more about why he graded himself in B plus. But now I want to know how the contestants feel. So now that this trip is done, are you shaking in your boots? Or are you feeling pretty confident? Which parts are you confident about? Which parts are you not confident about? And I want to know where you are because I'm pretty sure, Nick, you've got a fake background going on. And Tim does not have a fake background, but are those palm trees? That's not your living room. And
Definitely
Stephen,
not
we never know
Seattle.
where you are.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna start with Nick. First, tell me what you're confident about, then what you're shaking in your boots about, and then where you're at.
Okay. What I'm confident about, I'm confident that I've planned a trip that's going to showcase uh, some enjoyment of fun stuff, and I think that there will be a sense of adventure. So
So the
I
adventure
think you'll
category.
get some of the adventure category from my trip, and I'm just excited. I'm just downright excited about the trip. I think when you plan a really good vacation, you know that excited feeling you get. It's like the
Hmm.
anticipation builds up, and I'm actually just excited to do this trip. So that's I think where my excitement level is, that I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully readers will find some inspiration in it. And I think there'll be some fun surprises along the way. I threw some hints in a post that I wrote today, and some people threw in some guesses already about things. So I think there'll be some fun twists, hopefully. Anyway, we'll see. What was it? I was shaking my boots on day one because number one, I didn't expect, I mean, I didn't expect Julian on day one, and Greg met up with Julian Keel, the founder of Points Path. I thought that was cool, but I wasn't yet shaking in my boots. Sorry, Julian, until I saw Carrie there too. And then I was like, oh, uh-oh, this is going to be good. And then when they boarded a business class flight to Europe to start out, I thought, uh-oh, it's going to be trouble from here, because if they manage to do that, I figured at that point Greg would probably be flying premium economy home. And so I didn't know where they were going to go or what they were going to do, but that was already quite a bit of luxury on just 100,000 points. I mean, most people would probably anticipate that would only cover the business class flight, or not much more than that. So to cover a business class flight there, a premium economy back, and a few nights in hotels, that did make me a little bit nervous. But we'll see. And then what was the last part I'm supposed to
You
have
have
shaking my
to spill the beans. Where are you?
yes. Well, I will spill the beans and say I'm at home. This is not,
Uh,
you're right. It's a fake background, but I'm at home, just not in this particular room. But this room is more attractive looking than the white wall behind me if I didn't
got
have the
it.
fake background. So
So did you
that's
travel
why.
to that room in luxury?
I
How many
walked,
points did
yes,
you
all the way
spend?
here. And speaking of walking, I will say that I've been working out these last couple of weeks, because I'm going to need a little bit of core strength and
Oh, so you're still
endurance,
gonna give
and
us a hint.
so
Oh,
I've been on the bike every day, just about. Got myself up to about 9 miles a day, so there will be no ferries pulling away from me this time. I
No
will
surprise 32-mile bike ride for Nick.
right,
Are
right.
you doing a triathlon while you're away?
Well,
Or
we'll see. So, so yeah, so
Hmm.
I'm still at home. My trip will start. That's as much as I'm going to say. It will start. You'll have to keep an eye on the blog, and
Just a
and on
maybe.
Instagram, of course. But we haven't mentioned this, and we should have by now, that I think the best place to watch these things is on Instagram. Of course, we're going to have all the updates on the blog. Also, we'll each be publishing daily journal updates as to where we are and what we're doing and what we think of it and all the rest of that. So for folks who prefer to read, you're not going to be left out. Don't worry. But if you want to kind of feel like you're on the trip and following along with it, Instagram is really the best way to do that because you can check the stories and see things kind of chronologically and look at the reels. So please check that out and follow Frequent Miler on Instagram if you're not already.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, Stephen, you're next up. So again, what are you feeling confident about now that you've seen Greg's benchmark trip? What are you not feeling confident about, and where are you?
Okay, so I'm feeling like
Can't
fairly
answer any of that.
confident. Yeah,
You're not sure where you are.
it's just hard to like disclose stuff without disclosing stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm excited about my destination and activity. Or well, activities actually that I have planned. I think that that's going to be something that even if it wouldn't necessarily be people's first choice for their own vacation, it might well be something that they would actually be interested in doing nonetheless. And so I'm hoping that that gives some applicability. My trip is going to be incredibly replicable, I think. So I'm hoping that that ends up showing through, just because I feel like it's something that pretty much even a novice would be able to book.
Cool.
Themselves if they wanted to, just because I wanted to make it so that people of any level would be able to do that. Um, and let's see. I guess my biggest concern at the moment is actually budget, cash wise,
Interesting.
because a couple of my activities aren't overly cheap. And so I do need to be careful, especially with things like food and drink. Like, I definitely don't want to be cheaping out on stuff, but I do need to watch my budget just to make sure that I don't end up going over, which I imagine Nick's like I can see Nick's little grin there, like because I'm the most frugal one and I'm normally the one who like stays well under budget and has like a whole ton of money left. At the moment, I'm like, well, if I can stay below Greg's $968, I'll be doing well. So
Hey, that is the
I'm
benchmark.
confident. I'm confident I won't go over $1,000, but I would like
Knock
to
on
be
something.
able to stay under 968 if I can, just to be able to spend less than Greg. But it could be touch and go. If I have to go over 968 up all the way up to like $999.99, then so be it.
I'll make you feel better, Stephen. I'm going to push the pedal to the metal. I'm going to leave no dollar left behind. So.
That's good to know. So I might be in with a chance
Dangerous.
of earning some bonus points for spending the least out of everyone, potentially, but I'm not overly confident about that.
Okay.
In terms of where I am at the moment, I am in New York City. So actually flew back over here several days ago with my wife. We met up with her parents up here in New York, so we spent a few days with them. And I'm happy enough to disclose that I'm going to be leaving tomorrow.
Okay.
So
And you
that's
partially
what my
picked
trip will be.
New York to make it more applicable to our readers, right?
Yes. So yeah,
Because you
in
don't
case
live there anymore.
people,
You don't live in the
yeah,
States anymore.
yeah. So I'm based in the UK now, and so that didn't seem like it was going to be like a fair comparison, A to Nick and Tim, but also for readers, like because very few Frequent Miler readers are going to be starting a 100K vacation from the UK. So I figured, okay, I'll come back to the US, start from there, and then go off on my trip. So
Yep.
yes, so I'm in New York City.
All right. Cool. All right, Tim. So what are you confident about? Which category are you confident about? Which one has you shaking in your boots? And what do we see behind you? Where are you?
Um, so in terms of which category has me shaking in my boots, it's the flying guests in to share my vacation with me category. I
Bjorn is available. You should give him
I
a call.
no, Bjorn is not available because he is like, no, I need a vacation after my vacation. Like I can't do that stuff back to back. Um, but yeah, I mean, Greg did a great job of just having all these fun surprise guests. It felt like an episode of like a late night variety show. You're going like, here's
I
the
thought of
next
that
guest, and
too.
we're going to do a bunch of fun games with the guest, right? Um, and spoiler alert, well, we'll see. I still I'm trying to get Bono, but
He hasn't
but I
responded yet.
but I don't want to raise expectations, you
He
know.
never responds to my messages either.
Oh, really? Geez,
No.
I was hoping maybe he just was busy. Gosh darn it. Okay. Um, but yeah, I don't, it's funny. I don't even, it's hard to say even confident and not, I mean, like I said, Bono is not going to show up on my trip, but I had a fairly, with these challenges, I always tend to get kind of, I'm like, what is kind of the essence of this challenge? And how do I do a trip that to me feels like the essence of this challenge? And full disclosure, I read your grading post today.
Uh-oh.
Me too.
So yeah, so
Uh-oh.
like I don't, and it's like, and I because I don't want to even let that affect me. And so I purposely put it off because I just want to create a trip that I think kind of shows what I think the heart of the challenge is. And so I kind of gave myself some different parameters. And I don't think they're necessarily like exclusive parameters. They're within what you guys set up, but just different parameters where I wanted it to feel like somebody has a week off. What's a vacation look like for that person? And then when my trip's done, I want to feel like this looks like a vacation that somebody might have taken. I wanted to, as opposed to hunting a place that is offers good value, I wanted to show good value at an expensive and popular place that people would go. So I limited myself to the 15 most expensive countries that
Wow.
Americans go to.
Hmm.
And I wanted, and in terms of the applicability, and I actually kind of misunderstood it a little bit, but that's beside the point. The applicability thing, like I thought that was a great idea, and so for this trip, like I set myself a goal of not using any elite status, no hotel instruments, no card link benefits, nothing. There's nothing about my trip that a person who has read Frequent Miler over the last year could not replicate. Um, and so those were kind of my big three in terms of what I was doing. I feel pretty confident about that. Now, do I feel pretty confident that that's gonna like beat Stephen riding sharks off the coast of Madagascar or Nick skydiving from wherever he's gonna skydive from or um I have no idea. I have zero confidence that I'm gonna win.
Mm.
But I have confidence, but I feel really good about the, what's here in terms of like the parameters that I was looking for.
Do you know
So
that you
that's
just
so I
revealed?
didn't actually I didn't actually answer the question.
Yeah, but Tim, do you know that do you know that you just revealed that you're not going to be riding sharks or skydiving?
Unless
Well,
you're being very cheeky.
Yeah.
oh,
Maybe
see,
that's
I
exactly what he is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be tricky.
uh,
Mm-hmm. Well, now Nick's gonna change his trip and go do that.
I know, I know. I'm gonna throw Bono out there so that when Ozzy Osbourne shows up from the dead, it's gonna be so much more exciting. Um, but yeah, so anyway, all that to say, I don't even like I don't even know what confidence feels like outside of that. So I guess
Okay.
those are the parameters that I would use for it. I have zero confidence that I am going to be chosen as the winner over Nick and Steven.
Hmm.
Zero.
Okay.
But I do think I'm going to have a pretty cool trip. So that I think that and to me that's more the fun part of it.
All right.
Um,
And where are you?
well, I'm in what's commonly known as Pepperland. Uh,
The pizza place in
the
Malta?
the old folks call it the United Kingdom.
Oh.
Oh.
Uh,
Right.
but
Tell us a
so
bit
I'm
about
in
that. When did you
well
actually
I'm
So,
depart?
so are you at Epcot or something? Or
no, I'm actually in the United Kingdom in a little place they call Marylebone. Did I say that right, Stephen?
Uh,
Marylebone?
it's more
Marylebone.
marrowbone, so like
Marylebone.
almost like marrow bone, but
Marylebone. Like that.
Is there an
uh,
L?
Marylebone.
or kind of like the L and the E are sort of silent, so
Okay,
it's
so
almost
you
like
say it.
Maryland, but marrowbone.
Marylebone.
Marrowbone?
Marylebone.
Yeah.
Marylebone.
This is like
Marylebone.
guitar all over again.
This is where I find out that
I'm
I've
gonna
been
get
saying it wrong my entire life.
I'm gonna get my local interaction going around asking people to pronounce Marylebone for me.
So, okay, so you're already overseas. Tell us about that. When did you start?
So I started, like Stephen, and again, I sort of had a different take on applicability. I looked for the area that that has the highest volume of North American travelers leaving from, and decided to depart from that area, which was the New York metro area. More passengers depart through that area than they do through any other area in the United
Mhm.
States.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to, like I said, maximize this whole time. And so, and I don't want to get into a full trip report now. We can do that later. But and I have always, I I gotta say, and this is, nothing, no offense, East Coasters. I hate East Coast Europe flights. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Too short.
Yes, exactly. They're
Yeah.
too freaking short. They're like
Can't sleep.
it's the exact same reason why I don't fly red eyes from the West Coast to the East Coast, because they're 5.5 hours long. By the time you have dinner, there's 3 hours left. I can't sleep worth
Yeah,
a crap anyway.
I agree. It's a
It's
waste to fly business class, isn't it?
right, right. It's like it's useless. It's so useless. Like you can't, and then like you go overnight, you get there
Disagree.
at 7 o'clock in the morning, and
Right.
I'm bleary-eyed, I'm jet lagged, I'm all these sort of things. And so I'd always thought, what would it be like to like, I don't fly red eyes from the East Coast or from the West Coast to the East Coast. What about taking a daytime flight to Europe? There's only a handful of them.
Mhm.
And so right at the beginning of this challenge, I was like, on October 1st, I want to take a daytime flight to Europe. And that's what I did. And I gotta say, it's freaking awesome.
And you
Like
built your trip
I
around
agree.
that?
I left New York at 8 o'clock. I got into London at 7:30.
We very
I
nearly ended
don't
up on that same flight.
I don't feel bleary.
Wow.
I think Stephen might be on that same flight tomorrow. Actually, I'm curious. I'll be curious to see how it finds out. But yeah, like it really is it's awesome. I would, if I was flying from the East Coast, and this is going to be controversial to a lot of East Coasters, I would take a daytime flight over business class any day of the week. I just think it's a way nicer way to show up in Europe for me. And now that said, I can't sleep worth a crap, like in anything but a prone position, like a flat position. And even then it's tough. So, you know, take
I
that
have
with a
a
grain of salt, but it's
quick
so good.
quick question for you, Tim. Uh, Answer just as yes or no. Are you on the terrace I think you're on?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
So, we have a few more details about this terrace that Tim is on. He's been secretly sending me footage all day, but we didn't want people to know
Yeah.
where Tim was until after this live. So make sure to watch Instagram to see more about this terrace that Tim is
Oh,
on.
cool. That's
That's all.
exciting.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Um,
and so I won't, yeah, and I don't want to give away, I, like I said, I don't want to make a full trip report or give it away, like everything about what's been going on. We need to create a healthy degree of mystery. But yes, all that to say, the cathedral, I don't know if you can see the cathedral
see
spire
like
in the
a
back.
little
Yeah,
shadow.
Every
a
now
little
and then
bit here and
might
there.
fade in and out. But yeah, that's in Pepperland, in the posh neighborhood of Marylebone,
Little
or
sh
Marylebone.
Marrowbone.
Marrowbone.
Marylebone.
Marrowbone.
Marrowbone.
Marrowbone. Marrowbone.
Replace the
Got it.
YLE
That's
with an
her.
E, so Marrowbone.
Uh,
Oh man. So anyone else feeling nervous? And Nick and Steven, how do you feel about the fact that Tim's already hit the ground running? Make you nervous at all?
Own It makes me a little nervous in that it means that he could potentially fit in like 7 nights of accommodation into this challenge, if he has enough points for that. And so that would be pretty impressive if he manages to do that. So it makes me a little bit nervous that he's going to do that, because that would obviously be more than either Nick or I will have been able to achieve, just because we have to be done by
Well,
October
you,
8th. So
but you're in a lodging tonight, Stephen.
I am in New York, but it's not part of the challenge. So
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Separate.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel I think it's pretty funny that I had a very similar perspective to Tim, I think, on different in many ways, but similar in that I wrote a post that I published today where I said I decided that for a while I was focusing on how can I get like a wow factor in terms of value for how much I got, how many flights, or the
Mhm.
expensive hotels I booked. And like there's gonna be some wow factor, but I realized I was focusing so much on that and less on the vacation, that I was building a trip instead of a vacation, is what I said. And so then I pulled back and I said, okay, well, what would I do if I could spend a week doing whatever I want to do? And Greg's trip was, I think, a really great example of a lot of us really enjoy that group environment, the family trip, hanging out with friends, and that is great. But there's also sometimes compromises when you do that. I know, I mean, I travel with kids all the time. We got to make compromises about where we can go and what we can do and whatever else. So I said, you know what? If I've got a solo vacation, what would that trip look like? What would I want to do? And so I think it's cool that like Tim and I both had, at least Tim and I, maybe Stephen too, had that perspective of, okay, well, what would a really fun trip look like to me? I'm a little nervous that my applicability won't be as good as Tim's, and I don't know as good as Stephen's or not, because I don't feel like I have as much of a handle on what Stephen's doing yet from what you said there. But I hope anyway that what I do looks like a vacation that you could say, okay, well, that was a vacation. You definitely had a vacation, whether or not that's going to be what everybody else wants to do. And I think that that's kind of cool that we share that perspective on it. So hopefully we're going to get that. I'm a little nervous though, like Steven said, that he did get the head start today. I did for a while when I was looking at some of the itineraries I had talked about potentially booking, and I was looking to position to London to start. I had that exact flight on my radar for quite a while, and then it went up in price, and I said, somebody booked it. And that was you, Tim. But
Oh
maybe thank
man.
you, because I'm pretty excited about the trip that I ended up with. So maybe
You're
thank you for
welcome.
Yeah.
booking.
And
You're welcome.
I look
and
forward
Um,
to
I
seeing what you do.
Although it would have been pretty fun, I gotta say, I was half expecting either you or Steven. And once I knew that Steven was attending a Daily Show taping today, I knew Steven wasn't going to be there. But I was half expecting to see one of you guys at the gate. It's like,
oh, that
oh,
would have
okay,
been
now
so
we have to
cool.
change seat assignments.
That would have been like the Million Mile Manna stuff where we kept showing up at the same
Right.
places.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So I had actually considered like trying to leave today before, and I'd looked into my options for that. And I do have it in my points budget to book another hotel somewhere if I wanted. Only thing is that with like two sets of activities that I'm doing, they're I need to do them on specific days. And so I just couldn't make it work based on when those are going to work. And so I was just like, okay, I'll stick with the number of days that I've got. So it would have been nice to have gotten an extra one, but yeah, I had to make do with what I had.
Yeah. So question for Tim. So first a statement, which is, when I've done daytime flights, when I recently did a daytime flight to London, the great thing about it is you have to get up really early East Coast time. So
I
then you
see where
fly
you're
during
getting
the
at.
day, and by the time you get to London, you're going to be tired at sort of a normal time. You could go to bed at 11 and actually fall asleep, even though East Coast time, it's only like 6 p.m. and West Coast time, never,
Yep.
it's even earlier. Now,
Agree with everything you said.
but you had to stay up. You had to stay up. Now it's
2
what,
a.m.
3 a.m. for you? Is that right?
It's 3 a.m.
Did you get a good nap in or anything?
Oh no. Oh no. No, no, no. I spent some time exploring the town.
Did
And honestly, yeah. But I will say, and I don't want to your point, I completely agree with it. And I was just talking to my wife before this, and I said, it would be awesome because I'm ready to go to sleep. You know,
Right?
like
Right.
I'm ready to go to sleep at like 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right.
It,
And then
it
it's
it's
like,
such a perfect way to
and I'm not,
battle jet lag
oh,
because
oh, it's
you don't
great.
have it. You just
It's
go to
great.
bed at normal local time when you
Yeah,
arrive. Yeah.
man, I love it. I'm a
Quiet
I'm a
down, guys.
convert.
Quiet down. They're going to start increasing the price on those awards.
Well, and there's not a, what I think is really interesting, and not to go on a tangent, but just a small tangent. What I think is really bizarre is it's such a great experience. Like it would be like if 90% of the flights from the West Coast to the East Coast of the United States were at night. And that's how they run
hmm
transatlantic. And
hmm
it's like I mean, you really have to search. There's only a handful of
Yeah.
these daytime routes. And it's
Mhm.
like, why don't, but
Well,
and they're
I
all
know.
heavily booked because everybody wants to use them, you know?
Yeah, I think the reason is that and you know the other thing is almost all of them fly to London, almost all the daytime flights, and I think the reason
That's
is
true.
that
Mhm.
most other European airports they want to have the flights arrive at a time where they can have a connection, where people can connect to another flight to get to their ultimate
Yeah.
destination,
Oh, as
and
opposed to spending the night. Yeah,
morning flights just
Yeah.
won't work for that because
yeah,
they arrive at night in their destination. And I
that's a
think
good point.
London is often enough the final destination for people that that's why it works for flights to London is what I suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
All
surprised we don't
right.
see some of that to Paris, though. And, a couple
Yeah,
of
Like
Rome, but
Barcelona, Madrid,
yeah.
like
it'd be
some of
Yeah.
these
nice.
other
But yeah,
Western.
it would be
Yeah,
nice. If you're listening,
yeah,
airlines, it would be nice.
I think part
yeah.
of it as well is that a lot of cities they don't allow flights to land after a certain time as well. And so they're kind
Mm.
of limited as to how late in the morning the flights can depart from the US in order to make it to those airports on time, just in case there's like a delay of an hour or two or something like
Yeah.
that. Because if it's due to, I feel like London might have a cutoff of like 10 p.m. or something like that. I might be wrong on that, but it means that if you're due to arrive at 7:30, if your flight's 3 hours late, it's just not going to be allowed to land there. So I think there's that risk element involved for airlines with deciding to do those kind of flights too.
That would make for some good content though for Instagram if one of you guys is on a flight that's not allowed to land. As long as you have good
Slow down.
internet on your flight,
Nick,
it should be really
Nick,
good.
Slow down.
Nick.
Nick is tempted. I think we'll take just a few questions. We don't have a lot of challenge related questions, so inviting y'all to put in all your challenge related questions while you can. We'll just do 5 minutes or so. We'll start with this one for Greg. Um, Redemption on VS, which is Virgin for some
Virgin,
reason, right?
yeah.
VS? Why?
Yeah, good job.
Redemption on Virgin in Europe is distance-based, not considering layovers, something you advocated. Is it worth the extra time to save some miles due to layovers in Amsterdam or Charles de Gaulle, which you did? Is it worth it? Would you do that if it weren't for the challenge, for
Well,
instance?
I think what they're referring to is a different trick. So you can uh, you can fly with Virgin Atlantic. You could fly, for example, Air France from. I'm gonna make up an example. I don't know if this is exactly right. From like um, uh, Venice to Rome for as low as few as 4,000 points, but it's flying through Paris to do that. And so because Virgin only calculates the distance from your starting point and your ending point when you're flying Air France or KLM within or near Europe. So it's like it includes Northern Africa too, that you could do this. And so if the distance is below, I can't remember if it's something like 600 miles, somewhere in that range anyway, then it can be as cheap as 4,000 or 4,500 points, something, to do that. Um, is it worth, so the question is it worth going way out of your way? Well, depending on what two cities you're doing, you could be going way out of your way to get to Paris and then to go back to very close to where you started. I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't do that except for as one of these challenges, or if I could find if I wanted to do something in Paris, or you could also do this with Amsterdam if you could get the KLM flights to line up. If I wanted to do something in Paris or Amsterdam, and I can arrange it so that the flight arrives in Paris or Amsterdam like one afternoon, and the next flight back is in the morning, then you could have like a night in one of those towns. Or sometimes you might be able to do a day, like maybe you arrive early in the morning and you can spend the day there, and then do the next flight in the evening.
All right. Um, then one more question here, unless people people ask more. But if not, then this is the last one. How did you end up in business class on Air Serbia? I never heard of it before. Never even heard of it before.
Yeah, it was simple as I used a word tool to search for flights, and um, that option came up right away as something bookable with Air Canada Aeroplan. And so I went to Air Canada and verified that it was able to book that. Um, so I looked at a few reviews of their business class to make sure it wasn't horrible, and the reviews were good enough. And so, yeah, it was pretty easy actually.
All right.
Shows right up
Um,
on aircanada.com also.
Yeah,
So it's an easy to book part. There's no, you don't have to call anybody or anything. It's just right there on
exactly.
the Air Canada website. And you heard us talk about Greg doing all this for under 100K. I don't know if he mentioned when he recapped his trip that it was a 20% transfer bonus from Chase to Air Canada Aeroplan that made that doable, because it's 70,000 miles for what, or 70,000 Aeroplan points, I guess it is, for the flight he took, but it only cost him 59,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points. Also, keep in mind that if you've got an Ultimate Rewards card and the Chase Aeroplan card, you always get a 10% bonus, and that can stack on top of the 20% bonus to get you even a little bit more value for your points.
right. Yeah, that's
Good
a good
ad.
note. All right. I think that okay, here we have one more. Let me check. Um, yeah, this person asks, quite relevant. Did any of your vacations take advantage of mile transfer bonuses? So without sharing too many specifics, did anyone else take advantage of mileage bonuses?
Do we do a
Yes.
show of hands?
Show of hands.
Yep.
That's everybody's.
Everybody did.
I mean, that's
Did
a
anyone
superpower.
did anyone do more than one program? So I did both Virgin Atlantic transfer bonus and Air Canada Airplan. So two people did more than one. Did anyone do more than two different programs? Tim did.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so
Tim.
some
More
people
than
have the
three?
luck of having multiple
No,
transfer
I'm
bonus.
just raising my hand at
I
Well,
love it.
transfer bonuses are like a superpower,
this
right? Because it
point.
helps you expand your budget and get more
Yeah.
points out
Yeah.
of your points. And Tim had a whole bunch of transfer bonuses. City
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
and
had a ton
City,
of them.
City's gone crazy with them the last 6 months.
yeah, and again, I actually only did two. I didn't do three. I kept raising my hand.
Oh,
How?
okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
no. I only
Got it.
Yeah. Another question for Greg. Greg and I guess. How was the breakfast at the Hyatt Centric Malta? Did they have local food?
Yeah. I thought it
Yeah.
was good. They did have local food. There wasn't, or at least we didn't see a menu you can order from, but there was like an omelet station where you could get things made to order there.
Yeah.
What did you think, Carrie?
Yeah, I thought it was really good, and I did really like the local food.
Hmm.
Um, Most of it was stuff that we recognized by the time we had done all these kind of food
Yeah,
experiences.
but yeah, we'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is the thing Bjorn had talked about. This is the one thing he didn't bring us," and
Right.
we'd see it on the thing and be able to try it. They actually had a pretty good selection of both local foods and kind of standard Western foods.
Yeah. And then we'll make this the last question. For you, Greg, somebody says, was there anything you would do differently? I mean, they have a longer question, but that's the piece that we'll take time to answer right now.
Um, is there anything I'd do differently? Um, you know what? I mean, there's nothing. there's nothing really that stands out as something that like, oh, I wish I had done this other thing. It all worked really well.
Let me
I would,
modify it then. If you were to go back to Malta, what are the things that
oh yeah,
you would do differently? Like, if you weren't constrained by this artificial budget, what would
yeah.
you do differently?
Yeah, thank you. That's right. That I would absolutely stay in Valletta instead of St. Julian's is the main thing that I would do differently. I probably, even though it was really fun, if it was just my own vacation, I probably wouldn't fly out random friends. Um,
Random. I take offense.
As you should, Carrie, as you should.
and I probably would do some of those things that tourists do, but I would look for like a boat tour, either private boat tour or one that's a very small group tour to go to the different islands and do. There's like kayaking trips you could do on the islands, and so there's a bunch of there's actually a lot still to do in Malta that I didn't get to, which is always true of every vacation I've ever taken. So there's nothing special about that. But so I guess you could say, if I do anything differently, I would stay longer and do more of the things before I left.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll let Tim go to bed.
Oh no, come on.
Oh,
Don't
oh,
on my
actually, no,
account.
maybe we should go late. Maybe we should do another few hours and just really
Yeah, for sure.
Just
I mean,
exhaust him.
So he misses his next
want to make sure he
thing.
doesn't miss breakfast. Let's keep him up.
Yeah. Make sure to check out the Instagram for the most immediate updates on what these guys are doing. I think one of you, yes, Steven already revealed that he'll be leaving tomorrow. So, and Tim's already gone, so you know that there will be content. So make sure to check that out. We'll also upload it to YouTube as we're able. And thanks for joining us, everyone. Our next live check-in is can't even remember.
Saturday, October 4th.
6 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday, October 4th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Come back for the mid-stream check-in where we'll find out where everyone is. We'll do a little tallying of how their budgets are doing so far. Yeah, so make sure to check that out. Thanks for coming, everyone. And we'll see you on Saturday, I hope. Rest
All
up,
right.
everybody who's traveling.
Bye, everybody.
Saturday.
Bye.
Yep. We're still live.
We're still live.
At least hopefully won't cut us off on the film
It does, yeah.
end thing.
So I'm actually purposely leaving it live for a little bit so that it
Yes.
doesn't cut off early.